Greetings, my fellow gamers. It is I, Wraith King, and welcome back to Seven Nights. I have been working on a ton of different videos recently. I am actually going to come out with an AFK Arena review, so expect that sometime today. I just finished editing it. So yeah, it should be out probably right next to this video. But anyway, let's take a look at the new heroes in Seven Nights. Now, a couple of these heroes that have been released, man, I've been waiting a while for Yong-hee. But the other hero, kind of a surprise. Kind of a surprise. I am kind of glad that they do have her on here, so I am curious to see what they actually do with her abilities here. But first things first, we're going to take a look at Yeonhee, and then we'll see all of Mulan's abilities. I do not have enough awakened shards to awaken her right now, but I have a decent amount already, so I should be able to get her pretty soon.
It's over now.
Hey, wait a minute. How old is Yeonhee?
NANI?!
Well, at least I'm safe. Well, anyway, let's take a look at her abilities. Insight. Insight grants an insight buff to the caster. Damage received from one hit will not exceed 1,000 of her HP. That's a little different. All allies become immune to damage transfer. Decreases the defense of all enemies by 60%. But what exactly does Insight do? Attacks 2 enemies with each basic attack. She increases her counter rate by 50%, and every third attack, inflict 240% magic damage on all enemies. Additionally, piercing and critical hit will take effect. And she decreases the target's buff rotation by 2 turns. Now this happens with a simple basic attack. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good. Now, she used to have like this sleep effect on her passive ability and on her basic attacks. So it's kind of odd that she doesn't have that anymore. But in the Korean version, it was kind of useless because sleep wasn't exactly a continuous effect. If the enemy was touched in any way, well, they would wake up and the stun was pretty much pointless. But let's take a look at the rest of her abilities. Gesture of Annihilation. What this does is she inflicts 110% magic damage on the 4 enemies with the highest defense 3 times. Critical hit will take effect. Just a straight up damaging ability, no burn or anything like that. That's a little weird. Let's take a look at her second active ability. Eternal Sleep of Annihilation. She inflicts 90% magic damage on all enemies 3 times. Additionally, piercing will take effect and ignores the enemy's defense. Decreases the target's buff rotation by 3 turns, and decreases the target's charged awakening gauge by a fixed amount. So it seems like they're completely going away from the sleep mechanic that she had in the Korean version. Can't say I'm not surprised though, it just really wasn't all that useful. It wasn't that it was bad, it just didn't really work half the time, and it just kind of was useless, really. She was just a great damage dealer. That's kind of what she always was in the Korean version. She wasn't exactly known for her sleep, even though it was pretty unique. It just wasn't all that useful. Which makes me curious as to what they're doing with her awakening skill. What this does now is she inflicts 150% magic damage on all enemies 2 times. Exploit vulnerability will take effect, and so will piercing. Additionally, paralyzes the target for 2 turns and applies removal defense to the target 2 times. Exploit vulnerability inflicts more damage when activated, able to inflict damage to enemies who have a chance to miss. Removal defense or defense removal blocks heroes from removing debuffs from the target. Fascinating. So when she uses this ability, people are just paralyzed and there's nothing they can do about it. That's actually pretty interesting. Now, she used to have a nightmare effect, as I told you guys earlier, that killed enemies after a few turns. Like, she put an enemy to sleep, and if she put them asleep again, that would cause a nightmare. I believe that's how it worked, and after a while, if they were still a nightmare, they would die. So, I'm kind of glad that they did take that away, because as you guys know, sleep, not entirely the greatest status effect, although it's fascinating. It's just the fact that you can wake up the enemy just by attacking them. So, most of the time, the nightmare just didn't really happen. Although it was an interesting effect, it just didn't seem to happen too often. So I'm actually kind of glad that they did make a few changes with her.
Your death will be painless.
Man.
Behave. Everything will become peaceful. Forever.
Wow. Her animations have always just been awesome.
I will find you in my dreams. Take you away. And kill you again.
I always really liked that animation. Even though a lot of people did seem to think it was kind of creepy, but I don't know, I just like it. I like it a lot. I think it's cool. Now, since she doesn't have the nightmare effect anymore, I don't really know how to think about her, because a lot of her abilities are kind of just same effects with a kind of a different twist. But in the Korean version, although the effect wasn't all that great, it was original and it was different for her character. And that's one of the reasons she was so interesting, and she was just fun to use. But here, paralyzed and all that kind of stuff, it's just not, I don't know. Maybe if they kind of just buff the way sleep actually works, maybe I would feel a little bit different about it. But she's still a great character, don't get me wrong. It's just, I don't know, a little bit boring. Her effects are kind of, you know what I mean? Alright, let's take a look at her special item. At level 40, Gesture of Annihilation, priority effect decreases the target's hit shield buffs by 3 hits. Oh, so there we go. That has an additional effect to it now. That's not bad. At level 42, her counter rate is increased by 30%. And that's actually pretty good for her passive ability. Very good synergy. At level 44, Insight becomes immune to debuffs. Now, this was applied to her by default on the Korean version. She was just already immune to debuffs. It's fascinating that that is on her awakened item. But it's a good thing, though. That's very, very powerful. That in itself is a reason to get her right there. Pretty sure most of you already have her maxed out, though, so that shouldn't be a problem. But alright, let's take a look at Mulan.
I will protect everyone with my strength.
Now, I actually used to use her competitively in the Korean version, so I am pretty curious to see what exactly they'll do with her here. Alright, Flower of the Battlefield. What does this do? Revives once for 7 turns. Increases debuff resist rate by 50%. Our allies become immune to damage reflection. That's okay. That's alright, but maybe her awakened item might do something a little bit different to add on to that. Not all that great, but who knows, it might do something interesting. Fire of the Battlefield inflicts 100% physical damage on 3 enemies 4 times, ignores the enemy's defense, critical hit will take effect, and increases skill cooldown by 30 seconds. That does quite a bit. Quite a bit. It doesn't have piercing, but if the enemy does not have a shield, this will hit pretty dang hard. Prelude to Retaliation. Wow, that is a definite mouthful. Inflicts 120% physical damage on 3 enemies 2 times. Destroys the enemy's defense. Decreases any hit shield buffs by 3 hits. That's not bad, actually. I mean, it isn't brilliant by any means, but it's still pretty good. Corpse Bow inflicts 110% physical damage on all enemies 2 times, blinds the target at a certain rate for 2 turns, randomizes enemy formations and positions. Not too bad. I mean, she's pretty aggressive, but what exactly does her awakening item do? Alright, as for her awakened item, at level 40, Flower of the Battlefield applies penetration to all of her attacks. That's actually not bad. At stage 2, level 42, skill cooldown is reduced by 20%. Not bad. Not bad at all. At stage 3, level 44, Corpse Bow decreases the target's charged awakening gauge by a fixed amount. That's okay. I mean, so far she seems like a pretty aggressive hero. She does not have a void shield, and I remember her being able to revive for 7 turns on the Korean version as well, so that's no different. But she was never really a to die for character on the Korean version, and she's not exactly a must-have here either. She's kinda just okay, really. Wait a minute, did I take a look at Yeonhee's attack animations? They're the same anyway, so it doesn't matter.
You think you can withstand the burning fire?
Alrighty.
Meeting me here was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Draw your bows to achieve victory.
Okay, lag. That's a lot of arrows. Alright. As for my opinion on her and Yong-hee, Mulan is kind of just one of those characters you can put on your team. Kind of like how Karma is. He's just okay, and so is she. They're okay to put on your team if you do have them. I can definitely see her in some pretty interesting builds. I don't know if she's going to be anything meta-breaking though. She's just alright. For an offensive hero though, that undead effect can be pretty useful. But she can be debuffed, so there's that. But be that as it may, I can imagine some pretty interesting teams with her. And since she gets that piercing effect at level 40, so if you find her, she should be at level 40, and she should have that effect. So saying that, I can imagine her in some pretty decent builds, but she is definitely not a character that's going to break the game. But anyways, that is all the time I've left for this video, my fellow gamers. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to leave a like, comment, and please do subscribe so you can be a part of the Dark Kingdom. Me, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and start grinding for them awakening stones. And you guys will see me soon, maybe today. I have a review for AFK Arena coming out very soon, so look forward to that. But for now, take it easy for me, alright? Bye.